Hello and welcome to this video. Today I will introduce you to the Computer Tech Proprietary Limited Clinical Audit Tool, ComCAT. This tool is designed to facilitate audits of general surgery surgeons, teams and departments. When it is installed within your local network, it will be accessible from your own server via the Google Chrome browser. It is preferred to use Google Chrome, but is not strictly necessary. You can save the application as a bookmark or type the name in the URL bar. https://minion2/gas. This will get you to the login screen where you put your usual HE number into the bar at the top, box at the top, and your password underneath. Oh, I've got my password wrong. Okay, this brings you to the timeline section of the tool as indicated by the highlighted tab at the top left. The timeline is where the auditor marks all applicable events with indicators of the type of outcomes achieved by the surgical team. The demonstration software shows 4 available audit types with only 3 configured, but we will concentrate on the Perth Tertiary Hospital General Surgery Audit. Selections are made from the top down. To look at a list of patients that have been served by a group in a period, first select the period and then the grouping. Next, choose the level. For this demonstration, we'll be looking at the team level. So we'll pick this period and Team 2, which consists of Richard Mulqueen, Lindy Papadopoulos, Mark Troidson. We'll take a look at the team level. You'll soon see the timeline with the months of the audit period in the centre at the top and the patient's medical record numbers down the left. This is where the analyst investigates the activity of each surgeon or group and marks the elements with appropriate indicators. As you hover over an element, it highlights the information relating to it that's displayed down the bottom. This is an operation. Operations become yellow when they're marked up as index operations, but when they're unassigned they're red. And blue sections are main consultant care. Lindy Papadopoulos is within our team, so she's one of the main consultants for this team, whereas Astrid is not a main consultant for our team, so that's a lighter blue. On the right you'll see the legend where it shows you the different coloured markers, and you can change the order so that you can see certain things on top of other things. So if we look for a death here, there was no operation. A death here is at the end of a other unit's care period, and this death had let's have a look. No operation. Sometimes a death will cover up an operation, and if it does, then you can adjust the level of each of the markers to put operations on top of deaths, and you'll see the operation show up on top of the death marker. And also with main care periods, you can see other care periods show up on top of the main care period by clicking on the link. Main care period can have a number of different classifications. Unplanned readmission is shown here. That's an unplanned reoperation. An unplanned readmission would be this one. Unplanned readmission. And if there was a data entry follow-up, a data entry error or a follow-up required, then that would be displayed underneath section. You can put consultant care on top of the events. That way you don't see the operations, you can just see the consultant's care. Alright, to get it all back to the way it was, you would need to put events on top and main consultant care on top. That's correct. Deaths come on top. Okay, so that's the timeline display. If you look at team level 2, it's been marked up here because I was only interested in the team level report, but best practice is to use the lower level, which is the consultants level. If you mark up the consultants each with each consultant one at a time, it will actually propagate the markers up the higher levels, so you don't have to re-enter them at the higher levels to see the higher level statistics. You can override a lower level marker. That can occur, say we look at team 4 and we display team 4. This one hasn't been marked up very much, but some of them have. So this is Peter Wang, David Soy. They've both been marked up. So if we look at Peter Wang or David Soy, we will see that lower down they've possibly been marked up. No, they haven't. That's okay. What we can do is go to the top, mark up some index ops, index op, index op. Okay, so we've got 4 David Soy's index ops. Now if we look at the higher level, we'll see a David Soy index op, another one, and another one. This one doesn't look like an unplanned readmission because it's not within 30 days. And this one is for Benjamin Morgan. You can overwrite them, so you could say, we can't really say much about these ones unless you said it was a planned re-op, and that will overwrite, makes it a light blue. You don't see too many of those. That's pretty good. Now, once you've marked up all of the operations, you can go to the statistics screen. Once the consultants in a group are marked with indicators, there are reports that can be produced for use in an audit review meeting. Statistical report with cumulative results and de-identified adverse outcomes. If we have a look at team 4, we'll see this one hasn't been marked up. There's no adverse outcomes and there's no index operations down here. Multi-day with post-op ICU, multi-day post-op ICU hour range. But if we go to team 1, this one has been marked up, and you'll see 4 adverse outcomes of unplanned readmissions, and unplanned returns to theatre is 7, and deaths within 30 days of an op or at discharge is 2. Then all the adverse outcomes are listed in the bottom section, and you can go directly to an adverse outcome by clicking on its number. Here it is shown in the stats section, separate to the timeline section, so you can see more than one timeline at a time. This is the stats section, and then over here in the timeline section you can look at another timeline. Returning to the stats by clicking on the button, Also, the adverse outcomes, of which there are 13, you'll see a report of the 13 patients. Some of them contributed to more than one adverse outcome, and so these are the identification of the patient numbers, so you can discuss the case and remember what's happened on that event. Follow-ups and errors. For team 1, there were admissions that needed following up and some data entry errors. And in operations, there was one operation that needed following up and a couple of data entry errors. You can print them out, or you can make a PDF file with print to PDF. The graphs section shows you statistical graphs of how the team has compared to its compatriots, the other consultant teams within General Surgery Department of Perth Tertiary Hospital. If you display the report, you'll see the various outcomes, number of deaths, number of unplanned readmissions done by the index operations. These two are in line with each other. So the number of returns to theatre pretty much is the same for both teams. That's team 1 and 2. And you'll see that evidenced in the percentages. These are the percentages of deaths, so quite high here for team 2. They're probably doing the more complicated cases. And then you'll see that 2 percentages were very similar. The number of operations were not quite the same, but the percentages were the same. So that's good. Now, if we go over to the audit form, this is very useful in the audit meeting. This one displays case studies for the quarter and the team. This patient's been de-identified through its patient number, the consultants listed, and the type of adverse outcomes that were encountered, and the coding of the event. Then a review form, which allows for comments at the bottom, outcomes of the review, and whether the anticoagulant was used and had an impact on the event, some severity and preventability stats. The report's designed to print on 2-sided paper. Lastly, you can adjust the timeline display to have different pixel widths. You can also use your scroll wheel and the control key to zoom in and out. I like to have it large because it helps with my vision. But otherwise, you can leave it at the different zoom, at the original zoom, or even make it smaller, and then adjust the width of the display so that you can see more. Easier to pick the events. Each day is a bit wider. Finally, there's a help section which demonstrates the various features of the system and gives you tips on how to use it. Installing the browser. It runs on a web browser, so any standard compliant browser will be fine. It's been tested on Google Chrome. Using the browser to run the system, logging in, report selection, using the timeline, etc., etc. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you for your interest. If you want to contact us, then do so through our webpage. It's at ctpl.com. I hope you have a great day.